Good morning, guys. I hope you had a lovely, restful half term and welcome back. So, if you haven't done so already, please complete the retrieval quiz on the student worksheet by selecting the correct multiple choice answer for the question. Pause the video, come back once you've completed it. Shouldn't take you any longer than 7 minutes, and then we'll go through the answers. Okay, so let's go through the answers then. So the gas released by reacting a carbonate with acid, well, a carbonate should always release carbon dioxide gas. The formula for a sulfate ion is SO4 minus 2. The halide ion is Cl minus. Remember, a halide ion is formed from a halogen in group 7. Number 4, if you're testing for halide ions, you use silver nitrate solution. If you're testing for sulfate ions, you use barium chloride. Now, the colour of silver iodide is yellow. The colour of barium sulfate is white. The ions that produce blue precipitate is copper 2+ ions. And you can use a flame test to identify positive metal ions. Now for the challenge, it said describe how to test for a carbonate ion. Well, you add acid and bubbles. It should bubble if it is a carbonate, releasing carbon dioxide gas. If you bubble that through lime water, the lime water should turn cloudy. Okay, so today's lesson is looking at the 4 different gas tests. So how to test for 4 different gases. So the 4 different gases you need to be able to identify by using a test is hydrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and chlorine. Now remember, the chemical formulas for hydrogen gas would be H2 because there's 2 atoms in the molecule. Oxygen is O2, carbon dioxide, you should know, is CO2, and chlorine would be Cl2. So the vocab for today, chemical analysis, which we've been looking at for the last 4 lessons, is testing a chemical sample to identify the substances in it. So today we are testing chemical samples to find out what gases they contain. Positive test is a result that shows the presence of a substance. So, for example, if there was a positive test for hydrogen gas, it would show that there was hydrogen gas present. And the chemical formulas, as we've already discussed. So, because we have had half term, I just want to quickly recap what we've covered so far in the topic. So, the topic is chemical analysis, where we are testing chemical samples to identify the substances in them. Now, we've already looked at the first 4 lessons. So, if you look at the list, the ones in green we've covered. We've looked at ions and how to test for positive and negative ions. So today we're looking at how to test for gases, and then the next 3 lessons are what we should be covering for the rest of the topic. So today we are focusing on gas tests. So the first test you need to know about, there are 4. The first one we're going to look at is chlorine gas. Now remember, chlorine is in group 7 on the periodic table. It's a halogen and it exists at room temperature as a gas. Now the chemical symbol for chlorine gas is Cl2. So there's 2 chlorine atoms joined together in a molecule to form chlorine gas. Now to test for chlorine gas, we use blue litmus paper. If we hold it in a sample of gas and it goes red to white in colour, then it contains chlorine gas. So blue litmus paper turns red, then white. That is the positive test for chlorine gas. So what I'd like you to do on your student worksheet for today, I would like you to complete task 1 by watching the video on how to test for chlorine gas. Once you've watched the video, I then want you to write a short description of how to test for it. And what your positive result should look like. So, for example, to find out if a gas is chlorine, you would use blue litmus paper, hold it in the sample of gas. If it turns red, then white. It shows the presence of chlorine. So pause this video, come back once you've completed task 1. Okay, so let's review your answer to task 1. Remember, you do need to be green penning your work from home by changing the colour of the font and adding any corrections. So to find out if a gas is chlorine, you might have said any one of these points. You might have said collect blue litmus paper or use blue litmus paper. You might have said damp it, wet it. Hold it in the gas, hold it in a sample of gas, and it should turn from blue to red to white. Now test 2, the test for carbon dioxide gas. Now you should already know this one, we have covered this previously in lessons before. So to test for carbon dioxide gas, when the bubbles are being released by a carbonate. For example, if you react carbonate with acid, it will produce bubbles. Those bubbles are then bubbled through lime water. Now, as the gas bubbles are bubbled through lime water, if it's carbon dioxide gas, the lime water should go from colourless to cloudy. Okay, so bubble the gas through lime water. If it's carbon dioxide gas, it will go from colourless to cloudy. So task 2, pause this lesson video, complete task 2. Again, I want you to watch the short video on how to test for carbon dioxide gas. Normally we would be doing this in lesson in school in the lab so you could see it happening, but you're going to have to watch this video and then complete a short description on how to test for carbon dioxide gas and what the positive result looks like. Okay, so answers. Find out if a gas is carbon dioxide, bubble it through lime water. It should turn colourless to cloudy or milky white. Now test 3, testing for oxygen gas. Oxygen gas with the chemical formula O2. So now the important thing to remember when testing for oxygen gas, you first need a glowing splint. So you need to light a splint and then blow it out so it is glowing. You then hold it into the sample of gas. If it's oxygen gas, it will relight. So a glowing splint relights. Now, what I would like you to do is complete task 3. Again, watch the video for how to test for oxygen gas and then write a short description. Pause the video, come back to check for your answer. Okay, so the answer for that gas test, for oxygen gas test, should read something along these lines. Get a lit splint, blow it out. Some of you might have just said use a glowing splint, which is fine. Place it in the sample of gas and it should relight. Now that takes us to the final test, testing for hydrogen gas. Now this test should have been done numerous times throughout your school years. Hydrogen gas has the chemical formula H2. Now to test for hydrogen gas, you can react metal with acid. You can see bubbles are being given off. Okay, it's effervescing, it's bubbling, it's fizzing, which is showing me a gas is being released. Now, if I get a lit splint and I hold it in that sample of gas, if it's hydrogen, it should produce a squeaky pop. So testing for hydrogen gas, use a lit splint and it should produce a squeaky pop. So again, what I'd like you to do is for your for task 4, watch the video for how to test for hydrogen gas. It's a very short video, and then complete a description for the hydrogen gas test. Pause the video, come back once you've completed that task. Okay, so the answers are as follows. So to find out if a gas is hydrogen, use a lit splint, place it in the sample of gas or hold it in the sample of gas. If it is hydrogen, it will make a squeaky pop. Okay, so if you're still unsure on the gas test, what I suggest you do is go to the student worksheet and watch this final video, which summarises all 4 of the gas tests. Come back once you've done that. If you're happy with the gas test, you can stay with me now and we'll move on. Okay, so your next task, your final task for this lesson, for your deliberate practice, is complete the table. Now, the first row has already been completed for you, so you therefore need to complete the table for oxygen, carbon dioxide, and chlorine. You might find it a little bit difficult to do the ball and stick diagram. If you are finding that challenging, leave that column. So pause the video, complete this table, come back once you have completed it. Okay, so let's look at your answers. Remember, you do need to be green pen in your work, adding in corrections if you got it wrong, ticking it if you got it right. So the answers are as follows. Now that leads us on to the final part of the lesson, the consolidation. So there are 13 statements. What I would like you to do is name the gas being described by the statement. So for example, number 1 says lime water is used to test for this gas. So what gas must that be talking about? If it's using lime water to test for it, it must be carbon dioxide. So pause the video, come back once you have completed your answers, and then we can green pen them. Okay, so the answers are as follows. Number 2, if it produces a squeaky pop, it must be hydrogen. Number 3, if it uses blue litmus paper, it must be chlorine. Number 4, this gas is formed from elements in group 7, well, that must be chlorine. Number 5, carbon dioxide. Number 6, hydrogen. Number 7, oxygen. Number 8, CO2, carbon dioxide. Number 9, chlorine is toxic. Number 10, the gas that we need for life to exist, for respiration to happen, is oxygen. The gas we exhale is carbon dioxide. Without this gas, fire would extinguish, that would be oxygen. And the chemical formula H2 is hydrogen. Okay, so finally, like we always do, I'd like you to complete your lesson rag for your learning intention. So you needed to be able to describe the positive gas tests for hydrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and chlorine. Are you red? Are you amber? Or are you green? Thank you for completing the lesson. I hope you understood it. If you've got any questions or any problems with the learning, please drop me an email and I'll get back to you. Thank you, guys.